I developed my jab as much as I could. And this is where the whole argument of being flat footed versus being on your toes versus in between versus bouncing becomes
It's very
very,
interesting.
very
Yeah, it's very
okay.
interesting you mention that because I've heard as well, fighting a taller boxer, you got to use in and out movement. That's one of the
So
methods.
now,
So,
so now think
what's
about it.
your view?
So this is how I look at it. If I'm tall, upright boxer, all right, there is no way I'm gonna get out of your. I'm no way I'm gonna get out of your way if I'm flat-footed. I'm gonna lose that split second. My rear heel is gonna have to be off the ground, or my front heel is gonna have to be off the ground. And so what people truly misunderstand about the flat foot versus your heels up, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Because I could show you a video of somebody being flat footed and not getting punched. I could also show you a video of somebody being flat footed and getting destroyed. I could show you a video of somebody on their toes not getting punched and landing like crazy. You know who? Every single Cuban fighter that's ever won an Olympic gold medal, guess what? They hardly are on their heels. Will they sit and on their punches? Yes, they will. How do they move? They can punch off their toes. They're moving and they can punch off their toes. Watch every single Cuban fighter, and it's kind of the same thing. They dance in a ring, whatever. Will they get flat footed? For sure. Can they generate power off of their toes? Not off their toes, I'm sorry, the midfoot. Can they do that? Yes, they can. So that's a perfect example. Can I show you people that are on their toes and get destroyed? 100%. And that's the problem that I think we live in. We live in an age where I can show you a snippet that will support my confirmational bias. Listen, I've always been in the aspect of I learned early on from watching guys like Tommy Hearns, James Toney, Gerald McCullum, Evander Holyfield, all of them. They all did things differently. And guess what? They were all very, very successful fighters. There is no one commonality between them except consistency. And so you'll have people that will say, "Oh, as a tall fighter, you need to be able to evade punches, whatever, and use your reach." Yeah, you have to use your reach. But without your feet, which I believe is like your first set of defense
That's like
outside of your
defense, yeah.
brain,
Mm.
you need to be able to move, and you need to be able to move fast and efficient. And sometimes the only way you can do that is by being on your toes, because that split second that both of your heels are on the ground, you lose a split second. That split second is you getting caught with a hook or you evading a hook. Like, because punches travel much faster than most people think. And by the time you see it and you're trying to move, it's either you can jump back on your toes, you can try and lean back, you can lean back from that hook or duck or whatever it is, you can still get caught. But if someone's coming at you, and that's the number one thing that I've always heard, before I get into the ring and I hear the coach telling the guy, he's like, whatever you do, just pressure, 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 pressure. I would hear that. Like, that's what I would hear when I'd be in the ring with people. Pressure him, motherfucker. Keep pressuring him. You'll break him down. Just keep pressuring him. I'm like, no, you're not going to break me down because I'm just going to move around the ring, move around the ring. Or I'm going to sit there and I'm going to wait for you to come in, counterpunch you, and then move around the ring. And so I think that is like the thing that most people miss. Boxing is not a black and white sport. The only thing that I think that you need to learn is to learn not how to get hit and how to hit. That's it. Learn how to hit, learn how not to get hit. Those are the two variables, the 0 and the 1. How you do that is completely up to you.
Mm.
Because
Yeah,
think of like think of like Pernell Whitaker.
mm.
Look how he moved. Very, very good defensive fighter, whatever. Yes, can you see him sometimes on his flat foot? For sure. Can you see him sometimes on his toes? For sure. James Toney, flat footed almost all the time. And where does that come from? Because he spent hours and hours sitting on the ropes and perfecting his craft that he can use every aspect of being flat-footed because he was just a flat-footed guy. That's it. Like, think of Joe Louis. Same thing. Flat-footed guy, right? Until he went to strike you. Like, to me, in my opinion, Joe Louis is the most efficient boxer that there's ever been. When you watch his film, he doesn't waste anything. And like the composure to do that is unbelievable. You know, and then he talks about it. He's like, you gotta put everything into your punch, and the only way you're gonna do that is if you lean into your punches. Like, it's crazy. So that's my theory on it. You know, with the number one thing that people are gonna tell a shorter fighter against a taller fighter, pressure, pressure, pressure. And then you just need to figure out a way how to negate that pressure. Someone's going to get out conditioned faster. That's how I look at it. And that's where conditioning comes into play. If you can move and punch at the same time and not, you know, get dead tired, you'll win. That's how I look at it.
Very interesting, though. That's all. I don't want to call it a debate, but a very interesting conversation, isn't it?
Oh, yes, because you have people that will say, you only have to be flat-footed. And then they'll use examples of that. And it's like, no, like it's both. Like, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And
yeah, I think, well, I mean, I'm not sure if this is a great example, but yes, someone like Muhammad Ali in his younger days, he was bouncing around the ring. But then when he lost his legs a little bit, maybe a little more flat-footed, but they both worked for him. I'm not sure that's a great example, but
that is a great example. He did both, and he was successful at doing both. I get it. He got older, his legs, and that's it. He readjusted.
Yeah, and I think maybe we've spoken about this in the past before. I believe Ali was the greatest heavyweight of all time. He was more balls of the feet bouncing, greatest cruiserweight of all time, probably Evander Holyfield or Alexander Usyk. I would say they're more probably on the balls of their feet bouncing as well.
Yeah.
You can go down a list like heavyweight or super middleweight, guys like Roy Jones Jr., Joe Kawasaki's in there as well. Go even further down, Ray Robinson, 147.
Oh no! You can't bring Ray Robinson into the conversation because most people that say that Ray Robinson is the best fighter in the world have never watched a single video of Ray Robinson fighting. They just say it because everybody else says it. It's like saying the Mona Lisa is the most beautiful painting in the world. Why? Because something has to be the most beautiful painting in the world. Just like someone has to be the best boxer ever. And that's Sugar Ray Leonard. He's been designated that person. So you can't change that.
But most of these guys were the best in their weight class. And probably been more on the balls of their feet bouncing, I would say.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting conversation as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing is
and the lighter weight fighters. Would you call them flat-footed?
No, it's not. Like, I mean, that was like it's not to be stereotypical, but if you're a smaller guy, you don't have a lot of power. Most of those guys are not generating power because they're sitting on their punches. They're generating power because they are using the force of their 106-pound body to move forward behind that punch. And a lot of it has to do with their timing as they're jumping. You get what I'm saying? Or they're timing the guy coming in. And that's why I think, like, you can't debate and says that this one thing only works in boxing. The only one thing that works is that you either have to hit someone and then you have to not get hit. Those are the only two things that work. Hit and then don't get hit. I mean, that's it. It's binary.
That is boxing. Yeah.
That is boxing.
I agree. Both styles will work. It's going to depend on what type of fighter you are, isn't it? But yeah, it's an interesting conversation.